Hey everybody, and welcome to another craft tutorial. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays with the occasional bonus video. Today we're going to make epoxy keychains, and these are really fun and you can do a lot with them. These are really easy to make as well, and you can be super duper creative. This is a great way when you're making especially things like the epoxy tumblers that you can use up some of that leftover epoxy that you have in your cup and not waste any. So I love these projects for that kind of thing. So you're just going to need a couple of things. You'll need your epoxy. You will need some sort of measuring cup. These are just medicine cups from Amazon. These are in my Amazon store. This is also in my Amazon store. This is Alumilite. We have some stir sticks. These are just popsicle sticks. Super cheap. Get them at the Dollar Tree. You're going to need some glitter of whatever color choosing you want. And you don't have to use the same color that you're using on your cups as long as you don't mix the epoxy into the glitter. You're going to need some sort of silicone molds. These must be silicone or you're going to get them stuck. So I got this one at Joann Fabrics. You can see it's very pliable. Super easy to work with. These were like 2 for $5. And then I got this one off of Amazon. I will add it to my store as well. And this is a Rosanna Pansino one, which I love her baking channel. If you guys have not watched her, she's adorable. But these are just like gem shapes, and I thought these would be really fun to work with. And again, it's silicone, so very, very awesome. And then you'll need some keychain pieces, and these ones specifically have an eye hook in them so that you can screw the keychain to it. And the last thing I always recommend is something to cover your surface. I just use freezer paper because it's inexpensive, easy to find, and you can pretty much cut it to length. So I use freezer paper to protect my surface. So let's get our surface protected, and I'll show you guys how to do this. So I've laid out everything that we need to do our epoxy keychains, which we've gone over. And make sure that you do put your gloves on. I'm going to put those on before I even touch my containers of epoxy. There is some goo on the outside of mine because I've used them a bunch and it's totally dripped. So I always make sure to put gloves on, and you should always use gloves when you're working with epoxy anyways. So let's grab that stuff. And this little dude decided to leak, so you can see how much, I don't know how well you guys can see that, but there is way less of A right now than there is of B because A decided that it was going to leak everywhere. So what you do is you take equal amounts of A and equal amounts of B, and they are labeled. And you're just going to pour, and the way I do mine is I pour equal amounts into each medicine cup, which I just got these off Amazon, and I will link these below. So I'm going to get way down on the ground. I know you guys can't totally see this, but luckily this is not a super important thing to watch, but we can totally go over. So what I'm going to do is do about 1 tablespoon of this because we're going to try to fill as many of our keychains up as we can. This actually takes a lot more epoxy than I thought it did, but this is a really great way to take some of that leftover epoxy that you have if you're making tumblers and things, or you're going to do the acrylic blanks and you're going to use some epoxy. The nice thing with this is you're able to use up what you have left over because you can totally just fill these up the best you can. So you'll see when I show you guys, I have a dinosaur one that's only got a little bit in it. It doesn't have the full filled up keychain yet because I just used some leftover stuff to fill it. So what I'm doing right now is just measuring up to 1 tablespoon, and I do let this sit for just a minute so that it evens out. So I always pour A first and get that one pretty close to where I need it to be, and then I pour B because A has to settle a little bit more because it's like gooier. It's a thicker substance. And this is just the Alumilite, which I've linked below for you guys. And everything I'm using here, with the exception of those molds, because the molds came from Joann. They were 2 for $5. You can find them in the candy section, in the candy making section. So it's really super easy to get them. And they come in like a million different designs, and you can do just about any kind of design you want. These were just the ones I found and thought were super cute. So we got dinosaurs and whales. So now that we've measured out equal amounts, you're going to take one of your big cups, and these are just some little tiny plastic cups, again, just from Amazon, and 1 popsicle stick. And you're going to want to put all of your epoxy pieces, so your A and your B, the whole amount, into your cup. So you want to make sure, and I do have a little bit of a hair on mine, so we're going to get that out. I do have something covering my table right now too, so do make sure you cover any of your work surfaces. So I take my popsicle stick and I really go into my measuring cup and I get out every last little bit that I can. And I'm going to let this sit to the side and it'll settle again, and then I should be able to get out a little bit more. The B comes out a lot faster and a lot easier because, again, it is much more watered down. It's not as thick as side A. But you're going to do that same thing where you're just going to make sure that you go around all the sides and get out as much of it as you can. And there's a couple ways. You guys can measure however you want, and you can kind of measure out whatever, you know, amount you want to do. This was just about 2 tablespoons worth total. So it does give us quite a bit of epoxy, which is nice because we can make quite a few keychains. I was only able to get 1 1/4 keychain out of some leftover that I had. But again, it's a great way so that you're not just throwing out perfectly good epoxy. So what we do now is we mix it. And again, we want to make sure we're scraping the sides and mixing pretty slowly. You don't want to mix it like you would if you were making cake batter, where you need to mix a little bit faster. So you just want to mix it fairly slow. And again, this part is pretty simple, especially if you've already worked with epoxy. And this is a great introduction to epoxy too, for those of you who maybe have not gotten a chance to do any of the tumblers. This is a great way to kind of get your body used to messing with it, used to the way it should feel and the consistency of epoxy, and getting used to measuring, because these are such little things that if you mess it up, it's really not a big deal. But if you do it on a tumbler and then you have to strip it, and it's just kind of a lot. So this is a great introduction to epoxy. Now I do have quite a few bubbles in here. So you're going to mix it until it's fairly clear, and ignore all 8 zillion bubbles because those will come out. But I don't know how well you guys can see, but it's fairly clear. It's going to have a little yellow tint to mine because my epoxy sat for a really long time. But this is also a great way to use some of that epoxy that maybe got yellowed a little bit. And then you're going to need glitter. So I'm going to put those to the side really quick because we're going to put out our molds. So I'm going to show you really fast. So see, that's our dino that like we only just got a little bit in. But we're going to put more on top, and you can totally mix colors and things like that when you do these. So we have little dolphins and whales, and then we have these different dinosaur ones. So we've got some really cute stuff, and then the keychain tops, which you're going to need these. And these ones are awesome because they have on them the little eyelet hook. I don't know if you guys can really see that very well, but it has a little eyelet hook, which makes it a lot easier. It's got a screw on the bottom so that it's super easy to screw into your finished keychain. And you'll do that before your epoxy fully cures. So now what I'm going to do, it's pretty good. It doesn't have to be perfect for these because you're really not going to see the bubbles. Is I'm just going to put some in a second cup, because I'm going to do 2 different colors of glitter. So you don't have to put a ton in. You can do however much you want. I usually try to do about half and half, but it really, you don't have to, you know, make it a perfect measurement. It's totally fine if one has more than the other. And for this, you can use any kind of glitter, any color, whatever your heart desires. This is just some cheap stuff from the Dollar Tree. I love a good cheap Dollar Tree. And there's no true measurement to how much glitter you need to put in. So I don't put a ton in at first. I just put a little bit, and everyone's going to go, oh, how much did you put in? Honestly, just a sprinkle. And you're going to use 1 popsicle stick, and you're going to mix it in. And you don't want to put like a ton in at first, because you don't want it to get all chunky, if that makes sense. You don't want your epoxy to end up all chunky and gross. And you want to make sure that you don't mix your popsicle sticks. That's why I have 2 popsicle sticks, because we're going to do another color of glitter. So I just put a bunch more glitter in. Again, no true measurement to this. You just don't want it to be like all glitter. You still want it to be able to kind of move around in the cup like this. So I think that's pretty good on our blue. I like that one. And our second color we're going to do is pink. I don't know why. I just decided that pink looked fun. And again, this is just some Dollar Tree glitter. It's nothing crazy. And you can absolutely mix glitter colors if you wanted to put like pink and purple together to make a color. You can absolutely 100% do that. But again, make sure you don't mix your popsicle sticks. So I've got a new popsicle stick for my pink glitter, and I'm just going to mix that in. The darker colors won't take probably as much glitter to get them to where you want them to be, as far as like not super see-through. So keep that in mind because this one's pretty good. It's pretty thick already with glitter. I'm pretty happy with it. I might add a little bit more just because I like a lot of glitter. And you'll want to continue to mix these because the glitter can occasionally settle at the bottom. So you'll mix them before you pour them again. But you can feel it gets a little bit thicker adding that glitter, which is totally fine. No big deal. So we're going to flip over our molds so that they are open side up. And all you're going to do is just take a little bit of your epoxy and you're just going to pour it into whichever little guy you're going to do. And I'm just going to do a little bit of blue in this whale. And we'll do some blue in this sharky dolphin. I don't know if he's a shark or he's a dolphin. I don't know. Oh, no, this one's a dolphin. We've got a dolphin. So we'll do a little bit. And you can do like designs or whatever. They don't have to be perfect. And then we'll do a shark. So we'll just do a couple and make sure that we get full designs, full epoxy things before we move to different ones. So then we're going to just put some pinks on top. And again, you guys can do these however you want. There is no right or wrong way to do them. You can add your colors. You can add whatever color you want. You can swirl your colors with a toothpick. The hardest part for these ones, though, is getting it into his tail because his tail's a really small spot. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a little bit on the popsicle stick and I'll just sort of moosh it into his tail. And then I'll just make sure he's nice and full. You want to make sure they are pretty full to the top. You want to make sure that you've got plenty of epoxy in here so that you have a good, thick, heavy keychain mold. And I think that's pretty good with him. And again, this is why I have some freezer paper down. I didn't want to accidentally get any of this onto my table because this is my good work table. I don't usually do epoxy work on this table, but this is where all the filming lights are, so it's what we do. But you can just see all I'm doing is just gently pouring it in till it's full. And then if you see like right here, and I don't know how you guys can see it, it's not really going into his fin very well, so I just pushed it into his fin. So let's go ahead and go back to the blue for a minute because we'll just do this sharky guy in blue. And don't worry if you get some epoxy on the outside of the mold. Totally okay. It'll peel right off because it's silicone. So that's why you want to make sure you're using a silicone mold versus trying to do this with you know, like a hard mold because you need the silicone so it'll release. Alright, that looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and all I do is if I've got a lot and it's kind of touching the edge of my design, I'll wipe it off just so that when I pull my design I don't have to try to pop off that epoxy. And then I just do it a little tap tap, real light, super light tap. And we're going to just set this over to the side because we're not going to mess with that one anymore because we'll move on to our dinos. So I'm just going to put some pink into our dino here just to fill him the rest of the way up. We'll do a little bit of pink on his booty. And again, I'm just doing this so we can fill him up the rest of the way because he was some leftover from the other keychain that I did and I just didn't make a lot. So just make sure that we're going to get him nice and full. And again, you can use multiple colors, one color. It's all up to you what you want to do with this. But you can see I'm just pouring very gently into this. Not going too crazy. To get into his little arm. And you can get a toothpick or you can use your popsicle stick if you want to try to help you. If you want to get like these colors swirled a little bit better, you can absolutely do that. And the blue just got a little away from me on that one. So we're going to make sure to wipe this up. Now these like little extra chunks, a lot of times I'll just wipe them into another mold. It's fine, especially if they haven't set yet because who cares? It's fun. There is no rhyme or reason. So let's make, let's do this little guy over here. He's kind of going to be a pain because he's really small. But you can get these molds way bigger. You can get little molds. There's a lot you can do, and these come in just about every style, shape. I found a bunch of different ones on Amazon. I found a ton at the craft stores. Again, I found looking into like the chocolate candy making section gave me a ton of different shapes and sizes. So you can definitely find these molds anywhere. There's a really cute mermaid tail one that I saw on Amazon that I was kind of contemplating getting, but I don't really like mermaids. They're not my thing. So again, I'm just going to wipe this epoxy off because it's got, it was over the edge. I just made him all pink, and I'm going to make a stegosaurus, and we'll just do him all blue. And I think he should fill up with the rest of this blue. We'll see. If not, again, we'll just take and leave him in there once they've cured. So the key to this is only letting them cure for just a few hours. You don't want to let it fully cure. I did about 4 hours on this. And then you come up and pop them out of your mold, which I know sounds insane, like to everybody who does epoxy cups, because most of the time you don't want to touch them, you don't want to touch them. But with these, you can easily touch them. It's not a big deal. So like I said, I'm going to just take the last of this epoxy and just pour it into one of the molds that's sort of kind of just hanging out. And you don't have to pour it all into the same mold. You can absolutely like do blue in one, pink in another. It's just all up to you and the design that you want to do. But I don't like to waste, so when I know that I have a bunch left over, like I do with this one, I'm just going to try to globber into one of these molds, and it can just cure in there, and we'll come back. And when we do more, when we do another set of these, we can just come back and add some more into this. Because you're never going to have an exact measurement. It's just not going to happen. So as much as I wish we could always have exact measurements, it's not feasible. So we're going to go ahead and put all of our epoxy stuff that we put epoxy in. We're going to throw all that away. You cannot reuse it. Do not recommend. And we're going to go ahead and tap these little dinos. It just helps get any glitter or any of the bubbles out if there are any. And we're just going to set that to the side. We're going to let these set for about 4 to 5 hours. And when we come back, we can put our keychain parts on. Now that we've let them sit and harden, they have been sitting for about 6 hours. So they're not completely cured, but they are cured enough that we can take them out of the molds. So really all you have to do is just kind of fold them out of the mold. And that's the beauty with the silicone, is it pops right out. So there is the little whale. Now they are going to still feel a little bit sticky, which is totally fine. And we're just going to pop out all the ones that we're going to put our key rings in. So we have our dolphin, our shark, and our whale. And then we have our little teeny dinosaur here. And that's the beauty with the silicone, is you can literally just kind of fold it inside out and pop them out. I love these dinosaurs. They come out so cute. And this is the little guy that we have the extra. So he's like a 2-layer. So you can kind of see he's got like green front, and then his back is purple and pink, or pink and blue. I know my colors, I promise. And then we still got this little guy who doesn't have enough in him to pop him out yet. So we'll leave him in there for next time. And then we have this little Stegosaurus guy that is got a little bit of the pink in it, but he's mostly blue. So now what you do is you can take your key rings, and I got these super cute ones. So they come in a bunch of different shapes. So you've got like a flowery one, you have an apple, a star, there's a heart, and then you just have a plain circle. These are, I think, like $8 for like a ton of them. So you can just choose whichever shape you want. And we'll just pick one of our little dudes. We'll just do this little whale. So I always try to make sure I figure out which part is the top. And you take your little screw and you just push it in. And it does take a bit of strength to do this. And you just push it in while twisting. And you want to make sure that you're getting it into your keyring all the way in. Now you can put this anywhere on your little design that you want. You could put it over like in his tail, or I just kind of picked the spot. And you want to try to get it in so it's all the way in. And you want to pick a good thick spot. You wouldn't want to do this like on the edge of his tail. Like you wouldn't want to do the skinny part. But you can see, and you get it as far in as you can. And you want to get it nice and tight in there. And there you go. There is your little keychain. And again, you can do these with a bigger mold if you'd like to. But I really like these little ones. I think they're really cute. And we'll just do this little T-Rex guy. Now, I will say the dinosaurs come out a lot thicker than the sharks and the dolphins and stuff. But it's all just kind of personal preference. You can kind of use, like I said, you can use whatever molds you want. Just make sure they are at least semi-thick. Now, he's going to be a little bit tougher because this green has fully cured, where the pink and the blue has not. So you're going to want to be a little more careful with a guy that you've already poured a little bit into. And again, you're just going to take and you're just going to push while you screw it in. And this one's a little, like I said, this one's a little bit tougher just because of where that green is. So I'm having a little bit of a hard time. If you can't grip these very well, you can always get some pliers, and those will help you hold on to your screw while you are twisting, because my fingers are kind of getting in the way of this guy's head. His head keeps bumping my hand, so I'm having a hard time. But again, it's just a matter of, there we go, of finding what works for you. And what works for me may not work for everybody, but this works pretty well. So you can absolutely use pliers to hold it, whatever works and is easiest for you. But you just want to make sure that you get it in to a secure spot on your key ring. So like I said, I did this guy just on his back, and he's just going to hang like that. I think he's kind of fun with his two colors. I don't know, whatever. I don't know, he's fun. So we'll finish doing the rest of these guys, but this is really honestly how you do them. It's really super simple, very, very easy to do, and it just takes some epoxy and some key rings, and you can honestly use these guys as little decoration pieces if you'd rather. You don't have to put them on a key ring. You can put them on a key ring and make a keychain. You could absolutely add these to all sorts of things, decorations, necklaces, pretty much anything you want. I hope you guys had a fun time learning how to make these adorable keychains. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos all the time. And hit that bell icon, because that will alert you to when I post a new video. Have a great day and happy crafting!